What up guys, it's Dragon Ball for Life here, and today I want to talk about an instant transmission. I'm going to be explaining it and going through some of the misconceptions people have of it. Now in my last video I did it on the spirit bomb, so this video I'm going to be talking about the instant transmission itself. So first let's talk about the Japanese version of the name. It's actually called the instantaneous movement. Now both names are pretty good, but I do like the Japanese version a little more because I do think it explains the name of the technique far better than instant transmission itself. Instant transmission is basically just a teleportation technique. Now, one thing I want to explain about teleportation itself is that when usually people hear about teleporting to one place or another, especially when it's called instantaneously, a lot of people assume that that means that they automatically go from one place to another right away. And though that might be what the description might seem like, when you look at the scientific definition of what teleportation is, or instantaneous like type of like movement is, basically it means the way they calculate it is the fastest thing in the universe, which is a photon, a light particle, moving in the smallest distance, which is a Planck distance. So basically, in the way they get the calculation for instant, the speed for instant is how fast a photon can go across a Planck distance, which is ridiculously fast, and I don't think there's anything else faster than that. But technically, it's still a speed level. Usually, people equate, instantly moving to another place, basically moving with zero time, like basically it takes no time, but it does. It's just a very, very minute fraction of a second that it moves. So the technique itself, well, technique in general, teleportation, is not completely, doesn't just send you right away to the place. It does take them out. There is a time limit, but it's very, very, very short. And a lot of people will try to discredit some character, like, moving faster than teleportation, by saying, no, they're not, they don't have incalculable speed, or, infinite speed or whatever, because they weren't moving faster than zero time. They were moving faster than a very small percentage of time. But I think that also depends on the writer and the storyteller of that's what they want to go by. But because let's be honest, I'm pretty sure a lot of these writers are not going by the scientific definition. Most people don't even know that that's what instantaneous even means, and there's that for a calculation actually for it. So a lot of people might be confused on that. But let's get back to the technique itself and basically the speed about it, because a lot of people have been questioning how fast is it. Because some people say that it instantly transports you to another place, and some people say it transports you to another place at the speed of light. And they usually use this to discredit Goku and the rest of Dragon Ball characters' speed by saying they're not light speed, because he still needs to use the instant transmission to get to another place. If he was really light speed, why would he need a technique that moves at light? And the reason this problem came up is because when they first did the dub, they got some of the lines wrong, and one of the lines for Goku, when he came, he explained it by giving a numerical value to how fast it will take. He was basically saying it was like over 186,000 miles per second, which is how fast light moves at. So because of that, people assumed that instant transmission was actually not instantaneous, but light speed. But that was an English dub translation error. If you look in the original Japanese version, a subtitle version, you would see that that was never explained. And then when they redid it, and they redid the voicing and got the dialogue and the lines better, they did also change that, and he never mentions anything about 186,000 miles per hour. So no, instant transmission is not moving at light speed. It is literally just teleportation. It teleports you from one place to another instantly. And whether the writers are trying to go by the scientific definition of what instant means, which is, a photon going across a Planck distance, or whether they're going by, what definition most people usually assume instant meaning as you automatically are in another place without any time passing by. I could probably make another video trying to see if that is the case for Dragon Ball. Are they going with the scientific method, or are they going with the real one? But that's for another video. I want to focus on another big problem I see a lot of people saying, and it only became a problem after Screw Attack's death battle, the first one of Goku versus Superman. In that death battle, they stated that Goku could not use instant transmission in a fight against Superman because it requires time and focus. Because when he normally does it, he puts his two fingers to his forehead. He closes his eyes sometimes. He hones in on an energy signature, and once when he locks onto it, he transports there. And because of that, they used the argument from him in I think it was in the Buu saga when Kid Buu was destroying the planet. What happened was he threw an attack that was going to destroy the planet, and they had no time to leave. So Goku grabbed Vegeta, everybody, and he was going to do the instant transmission to leave to go to a safe place. But the thing was that when he tried to do it, he couldn't. He said he didn't have enough time. He couldn't focus, and that's when Shin had to come in and teleport him himself, which is also another form of teleportation, but different than instant transmission. And I'll explain it more towards the end of the video. But he couldn't do it, so then like Kobito Shin, which it was the Supreme Kai mix fused with Kobito, he was the one who teleported him out of there. So they use that as an argument to say, well, technically he can't use it in combat because there's not much time to be focusing and putting your fingers on your forehead. And I want to go through why that is kind of confusing and why it's a little more difficult than what they explained. Now, the way that actually works is technically Goku doesn't need to. First of all, he can use it in battle, and I will give you some examples, but he also doesn't need to put his fingers to his forehead and focus all the time. That's only if he's going a great distance or is in very dire need, like when he was when Cell was going to blow himself up, or when it was Kid Buu, because at those times the Earth either was going to be damaged or he was preventing it from being damaged, so he had to go a far distance. But if it's in a fight scenario where the person is trying to attack them, let's say they're rushing at him to punch him or kick him or fire an energy blast at him, Goku can use the instant transmission without having to put his fingers on his forehead. Well, actually, he still has to put his fingers on his forehead, but he doesn't have to, hone in on some energy signature, because he basically just can move around the entire battlefield wherever he wants. Because he'll basically be pointing and focusing his target on the person he's fighting, like Cell, for example. He would be pointing on Cell and then going from different place to place around the battlefield. But if, let's say, Cell was going to destroy the planet, like with the bomb, he would have to focus, because when you go in greater distance, that's when it requires actual focus. But in the midst of a fight, he doesn't really need that much focus. He can move from side to side. So it's not very necessary, and he doesn't have to really, it's only when it's large distance. So I think that's where they, when they explain that I think that's where the problem came from, is by showing that example basically made it look like he couldn't, but in reality, it was just that was a serious situation. Now let me get to explaining basically times where he did actually use it in combat. Now, two times he used it in the Cell saga. Once when Cell fired a Kamehameha at him, he flew all the way up so it wouldn't destroy the Earth, so it would go up, and it was about to hit him. So he basically, before it hit him, it was I guess a couple feet or a couple inches away. Goku put his fingers on his forehead and then teleported right behind Cell as the blast went off into outer space. So even in such a crucial and dire time, and in a time where he's basically so close to being hit by the attack, where it's literally matter of fractions of seconds, and he can still do it, shows that he doesn't need really an insane amount of time to really focus on his teleportation technique while he's fighting. So when he did it, it was basically a few feet away from him, which would be less than a thousandth of a second, and he was able to teleport right there and then. And then the second time, the most iconic time where Goku actually used instant transmission, was when he did the instant transmission Kamehameha, which was basically him using a Kamehameha and then teleporting right into his face to obliterate his top half, which itself would also contradict that whole he can't use it in a combat scenario because he has to focus a lot. Because firing an attack like a Kamehameha requires quite a bit of focus in itself. So for him to do a move that requires focus and then do that technique at the same time, that would really contradict it. So not only did he use it in a combat scenario, but he used it while he was also using another move, which would also require quite a bit of focus for him to do so. So that is wrong. And then we go into the Buu saga, and we get another case where Kid Buu's basically firing ki blast at him, and Goku's doing backflips. And in the middle of a backflip, he literally uses it to teleport to get to, I guess, behind him or to the side of him. But he uses it to escape being shot at with his ki blast. So yeah, that is incorrect in that regard. And we see it especially in Super when he uses it against Goku Black and Zamasu. He was using quite a bit, and we've seen it a lot more now. So yeah, instant transmission, you can definitely use it in a combat scenario. It's just that of the Earth is in danger and he has to go a far distance. That's when it becomes a problem. Now I want to talk about the difference about the Supreme Kai's teleportation technique and Goku's, the instant transmission that he learned from the people of Yarda, right? Now, the technique that Shin used, I think they stated that it's technically not a technique that he uses. It's a technique that the apprentices for the Supreme Kai use, like Kobito. So what the fact that he was doing it was because he was fused with Kobito. So it was basically Kobito's technique, and this is called Kai Kai. If you play Xenoverse 1 and 2, you get this move. It's basically like instant transmission. The only difference is instant transmission requires you to basically lock in on an energy signature, and then once when you lock on it, you can teleport to it, and depending on how far away it is or the level of power, it's going to require some time to focus in on that person and get to them to, get away or whatever reason you need it for. But it requires an energy signature, so you can't go to places where there is no life there, like planets that don't have any life there, or in the middle of random space. You can't do that. But with Kobito's technique, the Kai Kai, you can use it actually anywhere. The way it works is basically you can basically just teleport. It's like teleportation without any limits, as long as you I guess you have to still somewhat like focus on where you're gonna go, but you don't really need to lock onto any energy signature. You just simply say, you just think of you're gonna teleport into someplace else, you grab the person, and then you can do it. So unlike instant transmission, you don't have to focus or lock in on energy signatures. You just, I guess, have to think about the place that you will go to, and then you'll instantly teleport there. So it's basically like a far more improved version of instant transmission. And if I'm being honest, I do think that Goku should adopt that technique. Maybe it's only allowed for some specific beings, like godly beings, but if he can get his hands on that technique, I think it'll be very important and very, it will help him a lot in a fight, because if he's using this in a fight, it'll be far more lethal in his hands, and especially if he's in a dangerous situation like he was in the Buu saga, he can handle that too. So basically that's it for this video. That's it about instant transmission. I hope you guys learned a lot. I did quite a bit of research for this one, so I'm kind of happy about this video. And to be honest, that's pretty much it I have for today, and see you tomorrow, guys.